Close to Jupiter are small, dense, active worlds, Io and Europa, a mirror of the inner rocky planets Venus, Earth and Mars. Further out, Ganymede and Callisto are larger icy worlds.
In 1897, an Englishman called Thomson, who thought cathode rays were really particles, worked out a technique for weighing them. He changed the direction of the stream of particles with a magnetic field, and then saw how much of an electrical field was needed to straighten it out again. Sure enough, they turned out to be particles of negative electricity. We call them electrons, that were 1,000 times smaller than the smallest atom.
When you think of an animal, you probably think of one with a backbone. A fish, a frog, a horse, or a human. But 90% of the animals on Earth don't have backbones. They're called invertebrates. That means no vertebra, no backbone. Now, most of the animals in the world don't have a backbone. And without them, there wouldn't be any of us backboners around.
In 1750, he published a pretty ambitious book which was entitled An Original Theory or Hypothesis of the Universe. And it went on for pages and pages, and then it said, and in particular, the Via Lactea, that's the Milky Way.
The Milky Way appears milky just because we see more of the stars in our galaxy when we look upwards. The idea that the Earth is part of a disc-shaped galaxy, which is the Milky Way, must have been very startling in the 18th century.
Camel caravans are still the only means of carrying food and supplies to the remote tribes. Scattered widely through the desert are springs or groups of wells called oases. Here men can live, cultivate fields and build a village. The Sahara remains a region of rolling sand dunes and rocky plains.
Landsteiner discovered the human blood groups and thus solved the riddle of why some blood transfusions gave rise to complications. In all, Landsteiner was able to identify 3 different types of blood, which he labelled A, B and C. C was later changed to O. In 1902, a 4th blood group was identified. At first it remained nameless, but was later called AB.
This is actually a very small one. A really big one would be 8 feet tall and more than 50 years old and would have perhaps a population of 200,000 individuals. If we break an anthill in half, we'll find that it's made up of a maze of little galleries, and the worker ants move the babies from place to place in these galleries to take advantage of the particular conditions they prefer. For example,
it only took him 6 months' work to identify that. See the blue bits? That's what gives you tuberculosis, the tubercle bacillus. Koch was a hero and just as arrogant as ever. But his laws for investigation make sure one particular bug is always there when the disease is present. Culture that bug. Use the culture to give the disease to a healthy animal and get the same bug back out of that animal, made bacteriology a science, and put the patient on a slide for good.
Did you know that everything you see is an image on your retina? It's true, and those images are made by 2 kinds of cells called rods and cones. Cones don't help much in the dark. What they do is let us see in bright light and in thousands of different colors. So let's make some colorful cones in the center. And here we are at the retina, land of happy little rods and cones.
For a number of years, Fleming had been seeking a drug that would destroy types of bacteria that cause infection. Dr. Fleming and his assistants undertook a number of experiments to test his idea that the mold might be a weapon against disease. Dr. Fleming reached the conclusion that he had found a drug that would destroy bacteria and that, some evidence indicated, would not harm human tissues. This is penicillin.